It was definitely more about the Pacers simply because they were so flat in Game 3 after getting home late from South Beach that ultimately they needed some time to recover. Once LeBron James had posted them up and took advantage of them and set the tempo for Game 3, they had to resurrect themselves. They had to recover from that, and they did just that. This time, Skip, they were doubling him quicker. Obviously, number two, he wasn't able to be as dominant in the post. Number three, they were dominant in the post. Roy Hibbert, 23 and 12. David West and him combining for 10 offensive rebounds, both recording 12 rebounds apiece. They just had a 49-13 rebounding advantage. They had a 50-32 advantage on points in the paint. They had like a 19-12 advantage on second chance points. All that says is that they're playing by big boy rules. Everybody's been raving about Lance Stevenson, and he had a really good game, no doubt. But, Skip, he just makes me so incredibly nervous. I just can't put it into words. Every time he's dribbling the basketball, I get nervous. I feel like a mistake is imminent. But in the end, they got it done. And they got it done playing their style of play. And if they're going to win this series, which they won't, by the way, they would have to do it the way that they did it last night. For about a game and 3 quarters, there's been an APB out for Paul George. He hasn't shown up in Indianapolis until the fourth quarter last night where he dropped 7 points. But prior to that first 3 quarters, he shot 2 of 6 from the field, had 5 points through the first 3 quarters, with Dwayne Wade primarily defending him, not just LeBron. So he's got to step up and do better. To his credit, he recognized that when I spoke to him after the game, talked about how foul trouble really threw him off. But in the end, it comes down to that more so than anything else. I know you're going to look at LeBron. I know you're going to look at D. Wade, who has yet to be the second best player on the floor in this series. A guy like Chris Bosh coming up small, 1 for 6. All of them were in foul trouble, along with Mario Chalmers, who had a big game. But in the end, it comes down to Indiana's physical prowess and imposing their physical will on the Miami Heat, because the one way they can beat Miami is the one way they did it last night. And that's what they'll need to do moving forward. But they got it done last night.
I hear what you're saying. And before I answer Kerry's original question, I will give you this on Lance Stevenson. Stephen A., I thought his fearless attack mode that he was in last night was contagious for that team. I thought his body language was the lightning rod that set the tone for the whole night for the Pacers and helped inspire Roy Hibbert to have a very strong game and to become the most unstoppable force on the court. But now back to the original question. The Heat should have won that basketball game, just as they should have won Game 2 at home, Stephen A. And look, I'll say it again. For the sake of my Spurs, I'm glad the Heat didn't win. I hope that Indiana grinds this out into a triple overtime Game 7 finish. That's what I want to see.
Will you stop taking that weak position over national television?
It's a smart position. But back to this game, the Miami Heat, who are prohibitively favored, not just to win this series, but to win the championship, led by 6 points last night in the third quarter. They led by 3 points with 5 minutes to go. That's when LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, foul trouble or ankle turns or whatever, forget all that. Those three, the big three, should have closed that deal and gotten this game home, back to South Beach, as you say, up 3-1.
Here you go.
And what happened? Instead, the Pacers close out on a 13-3 run against the Miami Heat. And the Miami Heat, the prohibitive favorites, go 1 for their last 9, and Chris Bosh, who I have lauded over the last couple of years for playing big in big moments, played small last night. In his 9 minutes in the fourth quarter, he scored 0 points, 0 for 1, and got 1 rebound. Not big enough, Chris. And LeBron James, we all applauded that he kept establishing that Game 3 beachhead down in the low post and attacking and orchestrating for the low post. And I thought we'd see not only more of the same, but even more of the same. And we saw less of the same last night. We saw LeBron start to fall back in love with the jump shot. And I will be the first to admit, he had an unusually hot hand from 3. He made 4 3-pointers. That's what the Indiana Pacers want him to do. Shoot it from distance. As they keep saying, shoot over us. We're okay with that. And to their credit, they did defend him better in the low post. At least Paul George, let me finish. Paul George at least said, I'm not going to give you the baseline anymore. I'm going to make you go to the middle. And at least Roy Hibbert said, I would fake like I was coming over, and it seemed to mess up LeBron's rhythm. I don't care. He's unstoppable in the low post. Should have seen more and saw less. End of story for Miami
No, it is not
Heat.
end of story. No, it is not end of story. And you sound like you just double talking. You can't sit there and give Indiana credit. You can't sit there and give Indiana credit, but then also point to him. What did they do? Unlike Game 3, they doubled him in Game 4. And oh, by the way,
Not
Skip,
really.
I'm sorry, do I get to speak now? Did I not zip it when you asked me to?
Speak correctly
Zip
if you're going to speak.
Zip it. Speak correctly.
Yes.
Speak correctly.
Yes.
I can give you lessons on speaking. Zip it and listen and learn. Here's the deal. In Game 3, they weren't doubling him. In Game 4, they were. And not only were they doubling him, they were doubling him with the big boys, too. So the reality is that it's difficult at that particular time to take those shots in the post, which is why him having a perimeter shot was effective. Now, certainly, he could have come through in the fourth quarter. So could have Dwayne Wade. So could have Chris Bosh. But the measure, you have to understand that when you're talking about dudes who are great, and when you're talking about dudes who are champions, you measure them by series, not by a game. Sure, they could have played better. So what? Mere bag of shells. I told you they were going to lose last night. They'll be fine. Game 5, trust me, LeBron's going to come out aggressive. He's going to wreak havoc. We got to hope that Dwayne Wade is healthy enough to help him do the same. Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, somebody else will step up. They're not losing Game 5. It's one game. It's Indiana, their backs against the wall. They lose, they down 3-1. They can't let that happen. They were down, it was 2-2 last year. It's 2-2 now. They're mere bag of shells. Relax.
So
Don't worry
it's a
about it.
done deal. Pacers go down in 6 games.
That's what I said.
You hope
I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, I'm liking 7.
Now, listen, I think that Miami will steamroll in Game 5. I think Game 6 will be a thriller, but they'll find a way to pull it out.